Hey folks, welcome back. If you're new to the channel, welcome. My name is Krishna, and in today's video, we're going to take a look at how you can use implied ink lines to create both light or dark hair. So this particular creature was just created using the symmetry tool in Photoshop, and I've got some videos that discuss how you can use the symmetry tool as a great ideation exercise. Let's go ahead and start out with our guy in the middle. And before we actually start putting hair on him, let's talk about what an implied line is. So we have explicit lines. Those are lines that look like a line, right? And implied lines are basically lines. They could be hatching, they could be other methods where we are getting to a line, but this line is comprised of a lot of smaller lines or smaller hatch marks. So notice it's not necessarily continuous. This is a continuous line. So I refer to that as an explicit line. We see it as a line. Whereas something like this, it resembles a line through the arrangement of these individual hatch marks. So that's a really important concept that we're going to be playing around with. And in a digital sense, if you press down, you actually have the ability to go ahead and create thicker implied lines. What you'll notice here is that the thicker and closer these lines are, the darker the color appears to be. And I know I'm using red, but you can see that it looks like it is darker than the lines that are over here. So conversely, if I were to use implied lines that have, say, a little bit more gap, maybe these lines are actually thinner, you can see that this looks lighter. So this is the idea that we're going to be working with to make our skeleton guy have either light hair or dark hair. So let's go ahead and get started. So now that we have that understood, I'll put this on a new layer here and let's look at the light hair variant. So I haven't drawn the hair for this guy. I'll just go ahead and give him some kind of a crazy shape. So it has something like this. Again, nothing wrong with this. It just looks a little bit flat, but I want to make his hair look light. So what I can do is I can come back in with a few light lines. In other words, these lines have a thinner line weight and they are distributed in such a way that we still have a lot of white space. And I'm referring to white space as that area inside the hair. So you can see that the hair takes on this lighter value, even though I've not applied any color to it, because we see a dominant amount of white, we can infer that this skeleton guy, who I don't have a name for, has light hair. So let's move this over and let's bring out his twin. So I'm going to move the twin over to the side here, lower him down. Now what I'll do is I've got the brush pretty much at the same size, but I've got my pressure dialed in to where I can actually use that to make thicker lines. So I didn't change the size of the brush, but I just have my pressure set up in such a way that I can turn my lines much thicker. And you can see that the outline here already looks significantly darker. In fact, I'm just keeping the same hair pattern so that you can understand the contrast between the two. So this is where it gets really neat. If I want to make him dark, his hair dark, I could just fill the whole thing in with black. But then the problem that we're going to run into is that it's just not going to have any dimension or form. We're not really going to see it as hair. So what we can do is we can take these hatch marks, bring them really close together, and kind of rinse and repeat that. And we're leaving some white space in here. And what that's doing is it's creating this idea that the hair has a little bit of shine to it. and it's giving that hair some volume. And volume just means that it gives it a little bit more dimension. Plus, these are implying the contours of the way that the hair is actually flowing. So you can apply the same concept if you're drawing, say, long hair or a character. Just remember that the thicker the lines and the closer they are together through hatching, you can make something appear to be darker. And the thinner the lines are and the further they're spaced out, leaving us with more white space, we get this idea of light versus dark. So I'll come back in here and just make this just a little bit darker. Now, it doesn't have to be an all or nothing situation here too. So this is just, again, one method of actually creating this. But I think that if I were to go back to this previous example here, even though his hair is predominantly light, I would still come back in here and think about like shading, like the parts of the hair that are maybe not receiving as much light. And I would come back in and make this just a little bit darker because it's behind the skull. And then I would transition that dark to light. And that gives it a little bit of extra depth too. So now we can see that this hair is actually maybe further away from us than the hair that's in the foreground. So I hope you found this tutorial to be helpful. I like to keep these things short and sweet. Let me know if you have any questions or comments in the comment section below. And let me know what you'd like to see for an upcoming video. So implied lines, great way to draw. And I think it opens up a lot of opportunities that just, going over existing lines doesn't. Just think about ways that you can convey implied lines. That has to do with the thickness or the thinness of your brush and the amount of white space that you leave. So thanks for watching the video. Catch you in the next one. See ya.